The Youngster trainer class has been a staple in Pokemon since Generation 1, a collection of would-be rivals either not quite old enough to leave home yet, or those not lucky enough to be chosen by a professor for a forced internship. But what if one of these little fellas decided to take a journey around the world? Could they become the Pokemon Master? My name's Uncommon Soap and I like shorts because they're comfy and easy to wear, and we're here today to see if we can beat a hardcore Nuzlocke using only Youngster Pokemon. Here's a list of Pokemon that Youngsters use in the Kanto Generation 3 remakes. So we're going to be playing Leaf Green, since that means we're only going to be missing out on everybody's favorite Long Boy. But without further ado, let's see if Youngster Soap has what it takes to become a Pokemon Master. Starting things off in Professor Oak's lab, I have changed Squirtle into a Slowpoke, since it's the only Pokemon of the 3 standard starter types that Youngsters have access to. And it's one of the best Pokemon we're going to be able to get in this run, so hopefully we don't lose it. But that also means it's going to be time for us to face off against Rando in our first ever rifle battle. He starts off with Bulbasaur and we send in Pokey, who's going to go for a tackle and I'm going to go for a yawn. And after that, I'm going to start tackling this thing, but it's also tackling me until it falls asleep. And after we get it down to about half, luckily the Bulbasaur is still asleep, as we can then knock it into the red. It does wake up delivering one more tackle, but we can take it down, defeating Rando. Now let's see what friends we pick up before facing off against Brock. Over on Route 1, we're gonna grab you-know-who. And then over on Route 2, we're gonna grab a Pidgey. And after grabbing a Mankey over on 22, it's going to be time for us to face off against Brock and his rock-hard hard boys. His first hard boy out is Geodude, and we send in Pokey. We're going to go for a Water Gun right away, taking the Geodude down, which is going to lead into his ace Onix, who's obviously going to outspeed us, going for a tackle, and going for a Water Gun. We can grab the Oko on it as well, and with that we bring an end to Brock's Mineral Mayhem. Over on Route 3, we're going to grab a Spearow, and then a Zubat in Mount Moon. And while fighting our way through Mount Moon, Nugget is going to ascend into a Pidgeotto. And Joey is going to evolve as well, becoming the absolute perfection of this team. Raticate. Over on Route 4, we're going to grab a Sandshrew. We run into Rando outside Nugget Bridge, where he's under the impression that you need to give a 4-piece chicken nugget to each of the Nugget Bridge challengers, and that's the only way to get by them. And he's all out of nuggets because he already ate them all. He sends in Pidgeotto and we send in Joey, who's going to go for a quick attack, and we're going to follow up with a Hyper Fang, bringing it quite low before the quick attack then takes it down. Next out comes Rattata, but my rat's bigger than his rat, so when we chomp on it, we can take it down in one, which leads into Abra. And this Abra is so silly, it can't even do anything, and it's on level 16, Rando, what are you doing? Anyways, his final Pokemon, Bulbasaur, comes in. And we might as well stay in with Joey, going for another big ol' chomp as we take it way down as the red, and it misses a Sleep Powder, which means Joey the rat sweeps. Remember like 5 minutes ago when I said the Slowpoke was the only water, grass, or fire Pokemon that they got? I forgot about Bellsprout. Anyways, we catch one on 24. After crossing Route 24 and 25, we run into Bill's house, but this isn't Bill. It appears to be some sort of Clefairy. But this Clefairy lets us know that it is actually Bill, and he accidentally fused himself together with a Clefairy. I had no idea that Pokemon fusion existed in this universe, but yes, Bill, of course I'll help you diffuse the situation. And when Bill steps out the other side, I still feel an undeniable aura coming from this man. He must have maintained Clefairy's cute charm ability when he defused. Also, where did the Clefairy go? Bill places his finger on my lips and said, "Shh, don't ask too many questions, my love. Meet me on the SSN. Then all things will be clear." And I don't know if it's Bill's natural charisma or that cute charm, but I am enthralled. Yes, I'll see you on that boat. While getting up to the level cap, Salad is going to evolve right away into a Weeping Bell. Birdo is going to evolve as well into a Fearow. And now it's time for us to take on Misty and her wet and wild water Pokemon. He starts off with Staryu, and we're going to send in Salad. It goes for a Water Pulse, doing some chip damage to us, and I accidentally click on Sleep Powder. From here, though, while it's still sleeping, I can click on Bullet Seed, which is the thing I meant to do in the first place, and we can take it down in one shot. Well, technically 3. Anyways, up next comes Starmie. In this one, I think I will put to sleep. It's going to hit us with a Swift, and then we're going to use Sleep Powder. It continues to snooze, and we're gonna go for a bullet seed, and after we hit it 2 times, it's at nearly half. So we might as well go for another set of seeds, and we can get it down way into the red. After that, Misty uses a super potion, and I go for a vine whip, which is probably what I should have done in the first place, and after 2 of those, we take down Sturmy. Over on the SSN, we don't find Bill, but we do find Rendo, who brags about catching over 40 different types of Pokémon. But Rendo, there's only 4 on your belt. Don't you know how to math? Anyways, he starts off with Pidgeotto, and we send in Nugget. I'm gonna go for a Gust, doing about a third as it returns fire, doing a little bit less, and then goes for a quick attack. And now that we got it pretty low, we go for a quick attack, finishing off Pidgeotto. Out next comes Raticate, who doesn't even have the audacity to be of the appropriate level, and we send in Porkchop as he goes for a Hyper Fang, scoring a massive hit. So that was a mistake. Let's swap out and send in Pokey as he lands another Hyper Fang. It then connects with a third Hyper Fang, and we can go for a Yawn. And another one is going to knock us down to 3 and flinch us, but now it's asleep. So let's swap out and send in Birdo. And go for a pack doing about 50%. And with one more pack, we take out the Raticate, which leads into Kadabra, who tries to disable us, but we will not be disabled. And after failing to do so again, one more pack takes it down. Finally, Ivysaur comes in. And going for a peck on Birdo, we do about 2/3 as it fails to put us to sleep. I guess he used all of his luck on all those Hyper Fangs, because down goes Ivysaur. And Rando, you need to learn how to math better, my friend. And now it's time for us to take on Lieutenant Surge and his shocking array of electric Pokemon. He starts off with Voltorb, and we send in Joey. And we're gonna dig a big ol' hole with the Youngster as this thing fails to land a Sonic Boom. And when we come back out of the ground, we can slap it in the face. Not quite doing enough. How dare you be timid, Joseph? Anyways, Lieutenant Surge is going to use a super potion, and we are going to go for another dig and then come back up, doing the same thing again, and now we're at -4. So we're going to swap out into Porkchop as he luckily misses, and then he goes for a Shockwave, which can't miss, doing about a third. We go for a Mega Punch, taking it down. Next out comes Pikachu. So let's swap out back into Joey as it goes for a Thunder Wave, which is going to activate our Guts. After hitting us with a Shockwave, we can go for a Hyper Fang, taking out Pikachu, which leads into Raichu. It's going to go for a double team, and I am going to go for a Secret Power, and with Guts activated, it does a lot of damage. And after hitting us with a Shockwave, we fail to hit it. And after taking one more Shockwave, we are down to 11. But luckily we pull through, taking out Raichu, defeating Surge. While fighting our way through Rock Tunnel, Porkchop is going to ascend into a Primeape. And now it's time for us to take on Erika and her grassy goons. She starts off with Victory Bell, and we send in Birdo. I'm going to go for a Fly right away, avoiding a Stun Spore, and when we come down on the Victory Bell, we get it way down into the red, and then it gets the Stun Spore off. After that, Erika is going to use a Hyper Potion, and we're going to take it back up into the air again, coming down and smacking it back down into the red. And after tanking an Acid, we are unfortunately paralyzed, and we tank a second one, getting to about half before we take it out. Next out comes Tangela, who's going to go for an In-Brain, and we go for a peck doing just over 50%, which does mean we won't be able to KO it on the following round, especially because it goes for a Giga Drain. But we're paralyzed anyways. So I guess let's swap out and we'll send in Nugget instead as it goes for a Constrict. From here, we can go for a Wing Attack, bringing it down quite low as it goes for a Poison Powder, which is incredibly frustrating. But with one more Wing Attack, we take it out. Finally, in comes Vileplume. I'm going to go for a Fly, hoping for the Oko, and we barely do more than half as an Acid comes in, knocking us down quite low. But with one more Fly, we manage to take down Vileplume, but the poison gets us down to 9 HP. Just barely scooting by Erika. We're going to swap the party around just a little bit, adding in Sanic and evolving it into Sandslash. After fighting our way through Team Rocket's super secret underground base, we find Giovanni. And it looks like we're going to have to take care of him to get them out of Peladon City for whatever evil stuff they're doing. Anyways, he sends in Onix and we send in Sanic. And going for a Break, we do a pretty good amount of damage as we get bound on the following turn. But we can then take it down. Next out comes Rhyhorn, and going for the same thing, we go for another Brick Break, bringing it down pretty low as it goes for a Tail Whip. But one more Brick Break takes down the horns. His final Pokemon, Mama Kanga, comes in. Who's gonna go for a Fake Out, doing what Fake Out do, and then after slamming us with a Mega Punch, we are down below half. And going for a Brick Break, we do a lot less than I thought we would. The Kangaskhan goes for a Tail Whip, and I'm gonna go for a Secret Power, hoping for the Paralysis, and we don't get it. We're gonna swap out and send in Pork Chop, and luckily it misses its Mega Punch. And I'm gonna go for a Mega Punch of my own, bringing it down quite low because I accidentally clicked on the wrong thing, but we figure it out with Karate Chop on the following turn, bringing down Mama Kanga and defeating Daddy Geo. Which means that him and the rest of Team Rocket is gonna blast off, and I don't even know what they were doing here. We find Rando in Pokemon Tower, celebrating the life of his fallen Raticate. Not only did it evolve prematurely, but apparently it also had accelerated aging. The only thing that'll cheer up my best buddy is gonna be a Pokemon battle. He starts off with Pidgeotto, and we send in Joey. It hits us with a Quick Attack, and we go for a Secret Power, bringing it down pretty low, and one more takes it down. After that comes Gyarados. And after intimidating us, we are gonna go for a Secret Power, doing a lot less than I thought we would. Oh, let's swap out and send in Sanic as it goes for another Thrash. We'll return fire with another Secret Power, doing about another third, and with one more Secret Power, we can take the Gyarados down on a crit no less. After that comes Ivysaur. So let's swap out and send in Nugget as it puts us to sleep. And we're going to continue snoozing as this thing pelts us with leaves, doing next to nothing, and unfortunately I'm still taking a little snoozy poo on the following turn, and for a third. There we go, we wake up, going for a Wing Attack, getting it way down into the red as another Razor Leaf gets us down just below half, and one more takes it out. Next out comes Growlithe. So we're going to swap again, sending in Pokey as it goes for an Ember. After getting leered, we are going to go for a Water Pulse on this thing, getting it down way into the red, and apparently my Pokemon are just not quite strong enough for any Okos, but down goes Growlithe. Finally, in comes Kadabra. Who's going to disable Water Pulse, but that's fine, because I'm going to throw a Shadow Ball at it, grabbing the Oko, finally defeating Rando. After saving Mr. Fuji from the top of Pokemon Tower, we find out what Team Rocket's trying to do, more or less. Apparently, this old guy doesn't just run a daycare, but he's also a renowned scientist who created the Master Ball. And with the Master Ball, Team Rocket's master plan to be able to capture any masterful Pokemon masterfully will be complete. And he gives us a flute and tells us that we should head to Saffron City if we want to stop them. But sir, all I care about are badges. While fighting our way to Fuchsia City, Nugget is going to ascend to its final glorious form of Pidgeot. Next up to evolve is gonna be Pokey, who is going to become the glorious Slowbro. Oh my god, I cannot believe I finally found one of these in the Safari Zone. I really don't want to talk about how long it took me to get a Nidorino in the Safari Zone as our final encounter. And we're going to add Nibbler into the party right away and expose it to a Moonstone so we can grab ourselves a Nidoking. And now it's time for us to face off against Koga and his noxious poison Pokemon. He starts off with Coughing and I send him Pokey. And we're going to go for a Confusion right away, picking up the Oko, which leads into Muck, who's going to go for an Acid Armor, and we can fire back with a Confusion, doing just over half. And after one more, we take down the Muck. After that comes in his second Coughing, and going for a Confusion, we can quickly grab the KO, which leads into Wheezing, who's going to outspeed us with a Smokescreen, and we're going to go for a Confusion, getting it down way below half. And after hitting us with a Sludge and getting the poison off, we go for a Surf, grabbing the KO, and Pokey sweeps Koga. We run into Rando over in Silph Co, where apparently he blew all of his money on slots at the Rocket Game Corner, so now he's indebted to Giovanni, serving as their number 2 until he pays off his debt. So it looks like we're gonna have to battle to see if we can talk to Daddy Geo and Mr. President. Anyways, he sends in Pidgeot and we send in Sanic. I'm gonna go for a Secret Power right away, doing about a third as this thing goes for a Wing Attack. Another Secret Power manages to get the Paralysis off, and then it goes for another Wing Attack. And with another Secret Power, we bring this thing down way into the red as it goes for a Feather Dance. And with one more, we take it down. Next out comes Venusaur. So we're going to swap and send in the Nugget as it decides to go for a Razor Leaf, scoring a crit. But with a wing attack, we can do just over half, putting ourselves in a good spot as we get put to sleep. Well, that's unfortunate. Anyways, it goes for another Razor Leaf doing some chip damage, and we're going to be asleep for another 2 turns as we get hit with another Razor Leaf. And as we continue to snooze away, another Razor Leaf comes in, getting us down to 31. And I'm going to risk it for the biscuit, but Nugget is still asleep. And another Razor Leaf brings us to 13. So I guess we're going to swap and send in the Nibbler as it goes for a Razor Leaf, but we can fire back with a Flamethrower, taking it down. Which leads into Alakazam, who we can outspeed with a Shadow Ball, bringing it down on a crit, no less. Which leads into Gyarados, who's going to get the Intimidate off on us, but that's fine, because Quad Super Effective Thunderbolt will take down the Gyarados in 1. And finally, Growlithe comes in. And even though it intimidates us, we're going to go for a Thunderbolt again, scoring a crit, grabbing the KO, and defeating Rando. We bust into Mr. President's office where he and Giovanni are having a high-powered business meeting. Master Balls! Giovanni wants them, but there's only ever been one Master Ball and Mr. President has no idea where it is. Giovanni starts off with Nidorino and we send him Pokey. I'm going to go for a Confusion right away, scoring a massive hit, getting it down low as a Fury Attack comes in, doing what Fury Attack do, which is not a whole heck of a lot against the massive bulk that is Pokey. And with one more Surf, we take it down. After that comes Nidoqueen, who's going to go for a Poison Sting and is going to actually get the poison off, but we can go for a super effective Surf, scoring a pretty good hit. As a Body Slam does a bit more damage to us, we can take it down with one more Surf. Next up is Kangaskhan, and we're going to swap out and send in Sanic as it goes for a Fake Out. Next, we're going to go for a Secret Power, hoping for the Paralysis, but we don't get it, and on the second turn, it's going to keep on stacking up Rage as we get it down below half, and a Mega Punch is going to get me down below half as well. Cupid Me goes for another one, and luckily, Mega Punch misses. So with one more Secret Power, we take down Kangaskhan. Finally, enter Rhyhorn. So let's swap out and send in Nibbler as this thing goes for a Rock Blast. So I'm gonna dig a big ol' hole as it tries to stomp on me, but I'm nowhere to be found, except surprise, here I am. And we do just about half as it goes for a Scary Face. But joke's on you, I'm still faster. And after missing a Rock Blast, we can take it down with one more dig. And with that, Daddy Geo has been defeated. And Giovanni and the rest of Team Rocket blast off, and this guy decides to give us a purple ball. He was hiding it the entire time. In his pants. And now it's time for us to take on Sabrina and her side guys. Anyways, Kadabra comes in first, and I'm going to send in Pokey. It's going to set up a Calm Mind on the first turn, but that's okay because Shadow Ball. See ya! After that comes in Venomoth, which I forgot that she had, and it's going to go for a Leech Life, but unfortunately Leech Life before Generation 6 does like literally nothing. And after healing up with a Hyper Potion, we can go for another Surf, bringing it down quite low, as another Hyper Potion heals it back up to full. And after going for another Leech Life, we can go for a Confusion, taking down Venomoth. Next up comes Mr. Mime, who's going to go for a Calm Mind as well, but once again, it doesn't matter because Shadow Ball. Finally, Alakazam comes in, and just in time for our Quick Claw to activate, we can get the first hit on it, which is going to be Shadow Ball, which is KO, which is bye-bye Sabrina. And after learning Razor Leaf on the insane level of 43, we can finally evolve Salad into Victory Bell. And now it's time for us to take on Blaine and his Fire Guy. The dog comes in first and we send him Pokey. But our Quick Claw activates and we can wash this dog away with a Surf, which leads into Big Dog. And after the Big Dog intimidates us and goes for a massive bite, we can go for a Surf, grabbing the crit Oko on it as well. And after that, his Small Horse is up next, who's gonna go for a Fire Blast, doing just a bit of damage to us, and a Surf can wash away the pony, which leads into Big Horse. But I am a little bit afraid of Big Horse, so we're gonna swap in Nibbler as it goes for a Fire Blast, which does a lot of damage to us. So we're going to go for a Dig to avoid this thing. As it tries to go for another Fire Blast, we can smack it hard with the Dig, taking it down, and we defeat Blaine. And after we step outside the Cinema Gym, we run into Bill again, the man who stood us up back on the SSN. But what's this? He's booked a private cruise just for two to one island? And if that doesn't sound like a weird rich guy island, I don't know what does. No thank you, William. I will not be going to one island today. And now it's going to be time for us to take on Daddy Geo for our 8th and final badge. He starts off with Rhyhorn and we send in Pokey. And our Quick Claw activates so that way we can wash the Rhyhorn away. After that leads into his 3 moles, who go for an Earthquake, doing like nothing, and we can take it down with a Surf. Next up comes Nidoqueen, who's gonna go for an Earthquake as well, doing a bit more damage than Dugtrio did, but we do a lot more damage than either of them did, leading into Nidoking, who's also gonna go for, you guessed it, an Earthquake, but don't worry, Surf. And finally, Giovanni's ace and most powerful Pokemon, Second Rhydon, who maybe we just outspeed, I don't know, but anyways, it goes down in 1 hit as well, and we've earned our 8th and final badge. We run into Rando on our way to the Pokemon League. With Team Rocket disbanded, apparently his debt has been forgiven, and with all 8 badges in his hands as well, it looks like we're both heading to the same place. Rando starts off with Pidgeot, and we send him Pokey. It goes for a Wing Attack, and we're gonna go for an Ice Beam, grabbing a massive hit and KOing Pidgeot, which leads into Venusaur, who's gonna go for a Razor Leaf that I hope I can tank, and I barely do, but let's go for an Ice Beam here, and we do like half. So let's swap out and send in Nugget as it goes for another Razor Leaf. And with another Razor Leaf, it gets us down about a quarter, but we can grab the KO with a Wing Attack, which leads into Rhyhorn. So let's swap out and send in Salad as it goes for a Takedown. And going for a Razor Leaf, we can quickly take out Rhyhorn, which means Alakazam's up next. And I don't really have a very good specially defensive Pokemon, but let's swap out as he sets up a Future Sight. After that, it goes for a Calm Mind, and we can go for a Wing Attack, scoring a pretty big hit as it follows up with a Psychic, bringing Nugget down to 3. We can then pick up the Revenge with a Wing Attack, but when Growlithe comes in, that does mean that Nugget's going to take the Future Sight attack, and down goes our precious Nugget. So that's what I get for letting Pokey get low, but here's Nibbler. Anyways, I'm gonna go for a Dig because I forgot to teach this thing Earthquake, and we can pop up and smack it, grabbing the KO, leading into Gyarados, who we can outspeed with a quad super effective Thunderbolt, taking it down. And with that, we defeat Rando, but we've lost our first Pokemon of the run. Alright everybody, now that we've made it to the gates of the Indigo Plateau, let's take one quick look at our team before we face off against the Elite Four. First up, we've got Pokey the Slowpoke with Surf, Ice Beam, Calm Mind, and Psychic. Joey the Eradicate with Shadow Ball, Endeavor, Super Fang, and Secret Power. Salad the Victory Bell with Razor Leaf, Giga Drain, Acid, and Sleep Powder. Nibbler the Nidoking with Earthquake, Shadow Ball, Thunderbolt, and Ice Beam. Birdo the Fearow with Drill Peck, Fly, Secret Power, and Agility. And finally, Sanic the Sandslash with Brick Break, Dig, Whiffed, and Secret Power. And now it's time for us to face off against Lorelei and her chill ice Pokemon. Dugong comes in and we send in Joey. I'm gonna go for Secret Power, doing just about 50% as she sets up the Hail. After that, we go for another Secret Power, scoring ourselves the KO, which leads into Cloyster. It's gonna go for a Protect, avoiding my Super Fang, which is a wicked pro move, and we're gonna go for a Super Fang after that, getting it down to 50% as it sets up a layer of spikes. It then goes for another Protect, and we're gonna get chipped away at the Hail, but never mind, it's over, as Cloyster goes ahead and sets up the Hail once again before Lorelei heals up. Now going for another Secret Power, I'm hoping for the Paralysis, which doesn't come. But I don't know if this thing has any water moves, so I'm gonna swap out into Nibbler, getting hit by the spikes. It then goes for another Protect because of course it does. And after it fails to Protect again, we can go for a Thunderbolt, bringing down Cloyster. Next out comes Slowbro. And I'm hoping I can KO with a Shadow Ball, so let's see. As Nibbler unleashes the power of the Shadow, we do barely more than 50%. As it sets up an Amnesia, but that's fine I guess, because this is physical in this generation. So see you later, Slowbro. After that comes in Jinx. And we can go for another Shadow Ball, and this time we can pick up the KO, which leads into Lapras. We're then going to swap into Pokey, but thanks to own tempo, we can't get hit by the Confuse Ray. Lapras then goes for a Surf, and we can go for Psychic, and we do just over 50%, which is going to activate its Citrus Berry. And after another Surf scores a crit on us, we can go for another Psychic, bringing down Lapras. With that, we've defeated Lorelei. And now it's time for us to face off against Bruno and his Rock Hard Boys, but not in the way you're thinking. Anyways, here comes Onix, and we send in Pokey, who is going to outspeed us with an Earthquake, but we can go for a Surf, grabbing the KO. Next out comes Hitmonchan, who is going to hit us with a Sky Uppercut, doing like nothing, and we can go for a Psychic, doing a lot. Which leads into Hitmonlee, and after missing a Mega Kick, we can go for another Psychic, taking it out. Which means when his second Onix comes in, it's going to go for an Earthquake, doing like nothing, and we can go for another Surf, grabbing the KO. And when Machamp comes in, our Quick Claw activates so we can outspeed it with one more Psychic, taking it down. And I'm going to throw it out there, when I decided to do this Youngster run, I had no idea the Youngsters had Slowpokes, which all by itself negates most of the Elite Four. But anyways, it's time for us to face off against Agatha and her ghastly ghouls, and here comes Gengar. It's going to go for a Shadow Punch, but unfortunately for Gengar, it has a crappy physical stat, and we can go for a Psychic, grabbing the KO. Which means Golbat's up next. And after we can't be confused because of own tempo, we can go for an Ice Beam, grabbing the Oko. After that comes Arbok, who's going to intimidate us, but that's fine because I stare at things for a living, and we take it down with a Psychic. Leading into her next, Gengar, who fails to put us to sleep, and another Psychic takes it down. Finally, Taunt, who's gonna go for a Curse because it knows that the end is near. And with one more Psychic, we defeat Agatha. Which means now it's going to be time for us to face off against Lance and his dragon-shaped Pokemon. He starts off with Gyarados, and I send in Pokey. It goes for a Dragon Rage, doing what Dragon Rage does, and I'm going to go for a Calm Mind before my Quick Claw activates and I get a second one off, and a Dragon Rage does another 40. Now with another Dragon Rage, we're just at about half, and going for a +2 Psychic, we take it out. Which leads into Dragonair. And our Quick Claw activates, allowing Ice Beam to grab the KO. Which leads into another Dragonair, who's going to go for a Dragon Rage, and we can go for another Ice Beam, grabbing the KO. Dragonite, who is going to go for a freaking Hyper Beam, taking Pokey down. And that's what I get for bragging about Slowbro. Anyways, here comes Nibbler. And we can go for an Ice Beam on Dragonite, scoring ourselves the quad super effective Oko. Which leads into Aerodactyl, who's going to hit us with a Wing Attack, but we can go for a super effective Ice Beam, getting it way down into the red. This will prompt Lance to use a full restore, but we can go for another Ice Beam, bringing it down even lower before Lance uses his second potion. So this time, let's go for a Thunderbolt so we don't waste all the PP on Ice Beam before we get Wing Attacked one more time, take out Aerodactyl, and we defeat Lance. And without Pokey, I genuinely have no idea what we're going to do here, but let's see if we can become Youngster Soap Champion. Anyways, Rando sends in Pidgeot, and we send in Nibbler. I'm going to go for a Thunderbolt on Pidgeot right away, getting it down to the red as it goes for a Sand Attack. After that, it's going to go for a full restore, and we can go for another Thunderbolt, bringing it down quite low before he swaps out, sending it right on, but we go for an Ice Beam, pulling it, grabbing the Oko. Alakazam's up next. I know it's going to outspeed me and go for a Psychic, so I swap out, sending in Birdo, as it does indeed go for a Psychic. Luckily, we outspeed and can go for a Stab Drill Peck, taking down Alakazam. Next down comes Pidgeot. Rando's going to use a full restore, and honestly, we kind of have to stay in here, and luckily, 2 Drill Pecks take out Pidgeot, no problem. Which leads into Gyarados. And I don't love the Intimidate, but I gotta hope I can get the Paralysis off on this thing, as we only do about a quarter, and he misses Hydro Pump. So with another Secret Power, we get him down below half as he goes for a Thrash, KOing Birdo. So let's send Nibbler back in, where we can outspeed with a T-Bolt, taking it down. Which leads into Arcanine. And I have to hope that with the Intimidate, Earthquake is still enough to take out Arcanine in one, because I really don't have a plan for this thing, and we score a massive hit. It then fires back with a Flamethrower, and it's going to do a lot to us as well before Rando decides to heal up. So let's go for another Earthquake, and we don't do quite as much, but that also means it's out of heal range, so one more Earthquake takes Arcanine out. Finally, Venusaur. It all comes to this. Nibbler unleashes the power of Ice Beam on this big fat frog, and we get it down to about a third as it sets up a Solar Beam. But it's not enough. One more Ice Beam takes out Venusaur. And with that, Youngster Soap defeats Champion Rando to become the Pokemon League champion. And that, everybody, is how I beat a hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokemon Leaf Green as Youngster Soap. If you like the video, the sound of my voice, and this isn't your first time here, make sure you hit that subscribe button. The only way I'm going to be able to continue to grow as a creator. And let me know what other types of runs you'd like to see in the future. I mostly do fan games and ROM hacks, but I like to dip my toe in some vanilla adventures every once in a while. So let me know what you'd like to see, and I'll see what I can do about it. But anywho, I will catch you all in the next video. See you later.